This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, the followed last week over the Liberals losing an MNA over a little beef that was happening was, I guess, dealt with today. Dominique Anglade in a meeting with, I guess, Mary-Claude Nichols at one point. What's going on? Do you know the latest on this?
Well, nothing's been settled. Madame Nichols is still sitting as an independent. She's made no comment to this. What we've seen today is Madame Anglade has essentially said, well, things went too far. I want her to, return to caucus. Although apparently there's no question of her demands being met. What sparked what you describe as a small beef, and quite frankly, it may not have been a small beef, but certainly the reaction of Madame Anglade to it was hardly commensurate to what was going on. This is it. It's been 4 days of non-stop criticism of Dominique Anglade. There is nobody turning around. There was one person, Enrico Ciccone, who's the MNA for Marquette. He's the head of the caucus, who said basically, that Madame Nichols was not a team player. Well, apparently the coach has a different idea today. And I got to tell you, this back and forth, this more than bouncing him from caucus is an even bigger mistake. Because now it looks like, well, I didn't really think this through, and I'm getting lots of pressure from, inside the party establishment, from former MNAs. And I got to tell you something. I would start paying attention to what former Liberal MNAs have to say about this or anything else concerning the party, seeing as how former Liberal MNAs really outnumber sitting Liberal MNAs these days. That's the other optic we have to look at this with. But I got to tell you guys, I say even now, there are people out there, cynical people, who have already put together pools on how long Madame Anglade is going to last in the leadership. And if those people are listening right now, I'm taking Sunday, January 15th.
Really?
For any specific reason?
Yeah, because it's the Christmas break and this can't go on. This cannot go on, guys. Well, I said this the day after the election, but this cannot go on. I mean, listen, with all due respect to Madame Anglade, she was acclaimed to the post of leader of the Liberal Party. Now it's not people hiding behind anonymity. We're seeing MNAs come forward, former MNAs come forward and say, "Listen, I support her, but this is really not good for the party." And the other sort of area of concern and certainly for our listeners, is that where do Liberals, large L or small L, have to go? The traditional backers of the Quebec Liberal Party had a really rough ride this election campaign. And the roughest part of the ride was that given to them by their own party. So somewhere out there, I'm sure there's already moves afoot to prepare for a reconstruction, a rebuild of the Liberal Party. We may be seeing some familiar names resurfacing, either directly or indirectly in that effort. But believe me, the status quo cannot endure. These past 4 days have done perhaps even more damage to the Liberal brand than the entire disastrous election campaign itself.
It's weird, Jim. You said January 15th, and I thought to myself, now remember, they're going to resume sitting November 29th. She will have some time before they break for Christmas holidays to actually stand up in the National Assembly and, kind of hold Francois Legault's feet to the fire. And I was thinking if she does that really well, maybe talk of this begins to die down.
Yeah, I think most of the public's attention, I know my attention will be focused on that little tiny 2-week session to make sure mon oncle Francois has enough time to sign my $400 check. Then everybody, Mr. Slate grabs the cockatoo. Everyone runs down the back of the Brontosaurus. It's Christmas break, and then come February. That's why I'm saying the 15th of January. It's a Sunday. So it won't be, it'll break in the Monday news cycle. It'll be over by then. I don't see how she can stay. I mean, if nobody else, the head of the caucus has sort of been embarrassed because he's been sort of contradicted quite eloquently by the actions of the party leader. I mean, I don't see a way out for her on this at all. And anybody who tries to paint this as, well, no, these are just, this is sour grapes. Sour grapes. I mean, for crying out loud, the Liberal Party is capsized, on fire, and in the process of sinking. And quite frankly, if that situation doesn't require not just damage control parties, but a new commander, I don't know what does. But I really don't see the pur et dur, the diehard liberals, the people who still believe in the party, tolerating this for much longer.
Okay, so January 15th is your date. I'm wondering, do you think there will be a leadership review before then that leads to that? And then who's your money on for the next leader?
Okay, first of all, I think with her reversal today on Madame Nicole, the leadership review, so to speak, has already occurred. I think the message was made very clear to her. You got to fix this, or frankly, the party's going to have to fix it. And as for a leadership review, the party won't survive another 3 months like this. Never mind another year with some yet to be determined date for a leadership review. And honestly, I couldn't tell you because I'm sure there are a lot of qualified people out there, Natasha. But right now, I don't see people jostling for the job of being leader of the Liberal Party. And with all due respect, it's the same situation we saw back in 2020 when Madame Anglade was acclaimed to the post. Yeah. There were some people, I'm going to do it, I'm not going to do it. And you've got to have someone who is willing, who's got the skill set and the talent and the charisma to try and reattract, never mind, ordinary Quebecers, even Liberal Party members back to the party. But you've got to be able to understand you're not going to be able to do anything sort of government-like for 4 years. You're going to have to rebuild. You're going to have to essentially have the very thankless task of reconstructing, a burned-out village that honestly had been destroyed by its own residents beginning back in the campaign of 2018. There's a lot of damage to be undone. I'm not sure who's ready to roll up their sleeves to do it, but someone's going to have to because, as I say, this cannot continue for the party.
So, Jim, if I'm reading you right, what you're saying is Jean Charest has a chance.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't say Jean Charest is going to go out there with his metaphorical hammer and nails and start rebuilding. But I got to tell you, if there was ever a guy who runs a good party reconstruction hardware store, it's Jean Charest. Okay.
Good to know. By the way, I love the reference, and I should give you kudos for that, Jim. Referencing Mr. Slate, Fred Flintstone's boss.
Come on.
Excellent. Outstanding. 10 out of 10.
There you go.
That's a great reference. Meanwhile, I will mention we talked to 3:15 this afternoon, right? We were taking a check on traffic, Jim, and I asked Lauren Glazer, who's doing traffic, what the situation like. I almost fell off my chair. He said from the Anjou interchange to the La Fontaine Tunnel, so heading southbound, a 1 hour wait. That was at 3:15 in the afternoon. Yeah. So guess what? It's not going to be like it was this morning when apparently everyone was ready for this. Half a day later, it's a disaster.
Well, everybody took a dive. Everybody stayed home. I mean, the very fact when people are saying, inbound traffic on the tunnel seems to be moving normally, and the one lane is gone, 1/3 of capacity is going to Montreal is gone. You don't have to be, Dr. Joe to figure out that, probably 1/3 of the traffic's not on the road. Mm-hmm. And even as I speak to you, because I have my little Quebec 511 interactive map. And all my little bridges between, except for the Vic, which is kind of close, all my little bridges between the South Shore and Montreal are slowly turning orange, and I don't think it's because of Halloween.
Okay. I don't know. This one's going to come back to bite him big time, although, again, I'm not sure what there is to do here other than to complain.
Honest, Aaron, it hasn't started yet.
Yeah, you're probably right.
The worst is yet to come. Hey, that could be a model for my show, for my segment.
James Mennie, the worst is yet to come. Every day at 4 o'clock. Thank you, Jim.
Adamant.